What's up everyone, Adam from FWCI Collector's Edition, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Mattel Creations WWE Elite 5-pack for the LWO. That's Escobar, that's Del Toro, it is Joaquin Wilde, it's Rey Mysterio, and it is Zelina Vega. Personally, as you can probably tell, I've always been a fan of Escobar, even going all the way back to his King Cuerno days in Lucha Underground. And I like luchadors, I like Mexican wrestling, I'm just really into that. So I was very excited to get this set. And before we get into it, big shout out to Payaso Dioramas. Roger at Payaso Dioramas, he and I talk back and forth, and I know that he likes Mexican wrestling as well. So he did up this little display piece that you can see here that I have had this for a couple of months, patiently waiting for my LWO set to arrive, so I can't wait to set this up on a shelf somewhere and give my LWO 5-pack its forever home on my shelf. Go check out Payaso Dioramas on Facebook and have a look at all the great work he does. That's all the diorama pieces you see on this channel are made by him, so shout out to Roger. But let's get into the review, starting with the packaging. This came in a really nice, big, fancy 5-pack packaging. My cat has been enjoying the shipping box, and it did come inside a shipping box within the shipping box as well, one of those custom WWE ones that's the perfect size. So they took a lot of steps to protect the item when they sent it through, did Mattel. Wouldn't have minded more of an LWO logo on the front of it, but the packaging looks great. If you want this to put on a shelf, you know, you're not going to be disappointed. So I just want to quickly also mention the accessories for this as well. Every single hand that you get in this set is different. Every single person has different tape on their hands. Joaquin Wilde is wearing gloves. Rey Mysterio's got tattoos on his hands. There is no double up of any kind of accessory piece in this entire set, which I think is a bit of an accomplishment. I don't know if that was by design or not, but I appreciate the attention to detail, even on something as small as the tape on the fingers and stuff like that. The other accessories that come with this, and we'll look at them each individually, but the LWO soft goods t-shirts, they're all different. They're all completely different. They do have the Velcro down the back, but the cut is different for Santos as it is to Joaquin Wilde. And it's different for Cruz del Toro. And Rey Mysterio's is different. It's got the Puerto Rican flag on it. Like, they, again, went to a lot of effort to make this set look unique. And they didn't just put the same LWO soft goods item for every single character. And I appreciate that. So I'm going to get into the review of the individual figures, starting with Zelina Vega, who looks fantastic with that Puerto Rican flag. Now, for some reason, on the actual show, this is depicting what she was wearing in her match with Rhea Ripley at Backlash in Puerto Rico. But for some reason, she had the flag backwards that night. I don't know if that's a significant thing that they do on purpose, but I decided to switch it around and have the Puerto Rican flag facing the correct way, and it looks the same on both sides, so it doesn't make any sort of difference. But the way it sort of plugs in is you've got these, you know, just little elastic loops that you can put the arms in, and then inside the flag is like a straight bar that keeps it, you know, sticking out the way that it does. So it's a very unique accessory. I mean, you're gonna have to pose this figure with that. For some reason, it is a bit of a tricky one to pose. I think it's because the hair on the back of the figure especially. She's got a lot of hair. I think it's very heavy plastic, and this figure is a little bit of a pain to pose. But if I have a look at the paint application, it's pretty good. I think it could look more like Zelina Vega in the face area, but I like the blue and white hair. I like the paint sculpt on the body, on the tights and everything. It's all nice and clean. The shoes look fantastic as well. You got pinless double jointed arms, double jointed pinned knees, but the knees on this feel very, very loose, very loose. Not to the point where it's a massive problem, but it's very noticeable. So looking at the articulation, the new articulation that they've given these female figures with that nice movement in the abdomen, you know, she's got all of that, and again, pinless double jointed everything. It's pretty good. They're certainly stepping up their quality of the articulation on the female figures is Mattel with their WWE line. She comes with gripping hands, she comes with some unique posed hands as well, but overall I'm very happy with this. I think it's a great look for Zelina Vega, and that will definitely be right up the back of the display once I get it with the Vatos Locos diorama piece. Now moving on to the Rey Mysterio figure in this, and this is really, really nice. This is all pinless. There is pinless knees, pinless arms. You've got the pretty decent job with the knockoff, what is it, Jordans, I guess he was wearing on that particular night in Puerto Rico. The paintwork for this is great. Like I say, the tattoos go all the way onto the top of the hands, and I guess we don't have too many Rey Mysterios that don't wear gloves, so I think it's the first time we've seen Rey Mysterio's hand tattoos like this. The mask looks really interesting. It's like it's like a shark of some kind. I don't know if there's some sort of significance with Puerto Rico and this particular design, but it looks very, very interesting. I like that kind of teal blue on there. It really pops. So it's your typical articulation that you would come to expect, except it's pinless, like I say earlier. And for pinless, it actually feels quite good. I'm guessing this is going to be something that we're going to see more of in the future. And I think they did a great job with this one. I do want to say that Rey Mysterio's hands are far too big, and that's always been a problem. I think if Mattel's going to start giving us more like Rey Mysterio Ultimate Editions and stuff like that, they got to figure out the size of his hands. Give the man a custom hand mold, for the love of God. But I've been waiting for a long time for a Rey Mysterio in street clothes, because now that you can do head swaps with these Mattel WWE Elites, I can get any Rey Mysterio mask I want, and they mostly, for the most part, look good on this. I mean, you take off the LWO shirt, and all of them will look perfect on this head. So, as you can see, I've got some examples of that up over here, but swappable head Rey Mysterio, Mattel, give us a ultimate, not even an ultimate edition. I don't care if it's an elite edition, like a couple of, street clothes bodies. Maybe one is the suit he wore at the Hall of Fame. Maybe the other is just like, jeans. This version right here would be completely fine. And then give us like 10 different masked heads. That's what I want. But with so many Mysterio figures out there, this one is definitely unique in the fact that, all pinless and not in the wrestling attire. So, a very good addition to the set. Up next is Joaquin Wilde, the former Zima Ion, DJZ, Manic, I believe he also was, TNA alumni. But he's been great in WWE. I think he was the Legado del Fantasma member who got to do that insane dive at WrestleMania. But he's been a great addition to the LWO. I enjoy his work. Looking at this figure here, the color on the tights looks great. The font they use on the back of the tights, on the other hand, very boring. I don't know if that's accurate to what he actually wears, but I'm not a huge fan. He's got these unusual, studded gloves, which, again, very distinctive and really kind of set him apart. And, again, make the hands for each character in this set completely distinctive. The head scan on it's great. He's got that big shit-eating grin that we all love. You can see the splits in the side of the hair. The stubble looks pretty good as well. The paint application on his boots, I love that kind of Mayan or Aztecan looking design that they've got there. And it's black and white and it looks, pretty goddamn clean. Now he's also got the tattoos on his front and on his back as well. So a very well put together elite. I don't think he has an elite yet. I think there's only some basics. So he's going to be very happy with how this one turned out. Articulation, pinless, double jointed arms, but you do have pins in the legs, and that's because they've got the knee pads that kind of cover that. Shout out to Joaquin Wilde. This is a great figure. I want to talk about his tag team partner, old Cruz del Toro himself, because we're just talking about knee pads, and something I want Mattel to start doing a lot more of is just drawing the knee pads on. Just have it as a part of the paint application rather than have these big plastic rubber knee pads, because what's the point in having double jointed knees if you've got this big piece of rubber that just completely you know, limits the articulation. So it looks like they've put his knee pads as a part of the paint application, which I'm pretty happy with. The paint app on this figure is great. I love his attire. The detail on the Aztecan looking design on the side is great. And, you know, just a simple design on the other side that looks good too. Bandana around the wrist. Armband has been printed on and looks very clean. Nice clean white boots. And he's got a chain around there. I do think there's something off about this figure though. I think the head might look a little bit too big. The torso is a little bit small. The Escobar figure suffers a little bit of the same kind of thing. The arms are too skinny and long or something. There's something not quite good proportions of this figure. I think it's the size of the head. Maybe the size of the hands don't help as well, but you can get it in a pose where it does look like it fits in perfect with the rest. But yeah, get this one at a wrong angle and it can actually look quite unusual. It makes him look a bit like JD McDonough. But he's got the more normal cut LWO shirt, whereas Joaquin Wilde has the shirt that comes up a little bit higher and it's a little bit more high cut. Again, just that little extra attention to detail that I appreciate. And now let's get on to the main event. This is the figure that I was most excited for in this one here. I've already given him the Gift of the Gods championship because I love Lucha Underground, but Santos Escobar, new head scan, pinless double jointed elbows, pinned knees, kind of loose feeling knees, very loose around the boot cut as well, but the articulation is all fine. It does feel a little bit loose, but I really feel like the WWE figures could loosen up a little bit as well. Sometimes they're way too stiff, so it still feels like Mattel is finding the right balance, but they better get to it because they're going to have the pressure to be all pinless at some point, and they're going to better make sure they know what they're doing. The paint application on this is great. We've got all of his new tattoos. You can't see the LWO one because his hand is taped up. But in comparison to the previous Escobar, the one that comes with the mask, this one looks better and it's been updated with all the extra ink and everything like that. I love the ring attire on this. The black with the white, red, and green just pops so much. It matches the LWO logo. Like, this is quintessential peak prime Santos Escobar. Or maybe not peak. Maybe the man is yet to peak. But in terms of action figures, I don't think you can get a better looking Santos Escobar than this one right here. I did do a couple of head swaps on it, and honestly, both of these figures look good with each head. The older Elite and the current one. The only thing that does suck is the masked head that came with the previous Elite really doesn't fit on this peg hole, and the problem is with the head, with the mask. I need to do something to like make the peg hole in there a little bit bigger so that it can actually pop on. I hope it then looks good because I'd love to pose him with a mask and the LWO and everything like that. But the way this figure turned out, I'm absolutely over the moon with it. Even though the LWO is kind of technically no more, I guess it sort of is, but it's very splintered and fractured at this point in time. I was over the moon when they relaunched the LWO. I was even more excited when Escobar was a part of it, with Rey Mysterio as well. And obviously, things didn't turn out the way I was hoping that would for Escobar and the LWO. I was hoping for this. I'll just throw it out there. But if you're a fan of the man, this is the Elite that you are going to want to get. This is just amazing. Now, because I'm reviewing basically an entire wave of action figures, I'm going to do one big old-fashioned group Tarantino test.
Tarantino test.
So if you don't know what this part of the video is, this is where I have a look at the feet of the action figures specifically, and I give my thoughts on, you know, is it a good, stable base for you to do poses? Because I think the feet are one of the most important parts of the design of an action figure, and if you've got bad feet, and you're going to have a bad time, and nobody wants that. So the WWE figures, they're scaled slightly higher, so they always have decent flat feet. So you never really have problems posing WWE figures unless you've got some really bad balancing problems. In fact, talking about that, Zelina Vega, with the ankles and the knees being a little bit loose and the hair on the back being so heavy, she does suffer. Quentin Tarantino is trepidatious about the Zelina Vega figure, but it's easy to then get her in a good solid pose. But while you're doing it, you will notice that, yeah, it's very It seems a little bit finicky at times. But you still get a thumbs up, Zelina. It's okay. Escobar, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde all have your pretty standard Mattel WWE wrestling boot kind of feet. There's nothing to really talk about there. They're okay. They do the trick. They all have peg holes in them and everything like that. Rey Mysterio, on the other hand, I don't know who... These look like the John Cena shoes, but just on a smaller scale. But they look great. I think they did a really good job with Rey Mysterio's sneakers in this particular design. So, Rey Mysterio in particular, of all of these, and you know what, Zelina Vega, even though the legs and everything are a little bit loose, the sneakers that they did for her, they look fantastic, and coupled with the fact that the WWE feet are usually pretty good, Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega definitely push it over the limit to being a thumbs up.
Tarantino test.
So my final thoughts on this set are that it's very good. For a Mattel Creations thing though, it would have been nice to get a championship belt. It would have been nice to get, I don't know, maybe some crowd signs or something like that, considering it was at the Puerto Rico show. A better background, perhaps, with the Backlash Arena or something like that. Because the Rey Mysterio attire and the Zelina Vega attire are definitely from that show. The other three, the Legado del Fantasma trio, I'm not entirely sure what specific show that's supposed to be depicting, but it's definitely distinctive attire for all of them. So I like the way it looks. I enjoyed the faction on TV. I like the LWO logo and branding and the whole concept of it. I enjoyed it back in the day. Like I say, I was over the moon when they returned. So a lot of wrestling fandom all tied up in this as well. And not to mention, the Zelina Vega match that this is depicting was her challenging Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship, and maybe my favorite Rhea Ripley match of all time. I think it was damn near perfect. Go back and watch that match again if you haven't seen it for a while. It is an absolute banger. So I'm very happy to have the Zelina Vega from that match. Unfortunately, Rhea was wearing that white Judgment Day attire during that match, and I'm not a huge fan of that particular look, so whatever, doesn't matter. I don't need to go get that Rhea. I'm not trying to be a completionist anymore, but that Zelina is awesome. Is it shelf worthy? Yeah, I've already set aside space for this one. I had to set aside space for the Batman Forever collection, this, and the Marvel Legends Stranger Tales wave that I'm getting very soon. So definitely going to be displaying this. I'll dig out some championships for the boys and maybe a championship for Zelina Vega as well, because I've got that many. I've got as many titles as wrestling figures, it feels like sometimes. So you got to use them. You got to use them. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this one. Don't forget to subscribe here on FWCI Collector's Edition if you haven't already, or go check out my other channel, FWCI etc. I'm just reacting to Agatha all along and ghosts and what we do in the shadows, and I usually don't just do supernatural stuff, but at the moment, that's where the planets have aligned. And as always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your figs, ta-ta, and farewell.